So the Flash, how exciting!
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, elaborate.
Season 1 seems to start off really strongly with the case-by-week format. Are we going to be revisiting some of the other villains from possibly coming over from Arrow? Are we going to have brand new villains? Or
there's going to be a lot of brand new villains. We're actually going to have one villain from Arrow come over in one of the early episodes. I mean, it's what's so much fun about the Flash is on Arrow, we've generally steered towards the non-powered villains, and even when we had some of the powered villains, we depowered them or we fit them into our world, like the Royal Flush Gang. But now doing the Flash, it's opened up. Not only the Flash, who has the best villains, of any comic book character, but also a lot of the other superpowered villains in the DC universe. So we're really excited to be exploring all of them, but then also having the opportunity to, revisit some of the Arrow's nemesis and bring them over.
What's your general philosophy on how closely the shows will be or should be connected? Because obviously there's natural connections, but spin off of one another. But there's villains coming over. This is going to be Flash. Like, what's your kind of mindset on how close they should be?
I think that part of the fun, at least, we always do what we want to see. I sort of joke, if I'm not up on the stage, I would be out in the audience. And for us, so much of the fun of getting to do a spin-off and getting to do these superheroes that that they do exist in the same world, and that we do get to see them interact, and just even there's sort of the big crossovers, like having Oliver and Felicity and coming over, and Day coming over to the Flash, but then just even the little things like the scene in the pilot, or just even on a news screen, on a Flash episode, the newscaster says, in other news, Ray Palmer's, takeover of Queen Consolidated. So just, reminding people that they are sort of in the same world, and not in a way that, if you're not watching one of the shows, you're going to be like, what the hell is going on? But if you are watching both shows, it's like, oh, that's so nice. And, I'm such a big Doctor Who fan, and at one time when they had Sarah Jane Adventures and Doctor Who and Torchwood going on at the same time, whenever there would just be a little mention, you'd go, oh, and it just rewarded you for being like an Uber fan, and we really like that.
Can you talk a little bit about what's Barry's initial challenge is going to be over the first few episodes? Like, what's his first kind of arc going to be focused on?
It's really focused on how to even do this. When we started Arrow, when Oliver in the pilot of Arrow was as much the Green Arrow as he'll ever be, at least expertise-wise. That show is a study about his changing morality and somebody who's lost their humanity and getting it back. For Barry, he's just a normal guy who suddenly has superpowers, and just because he won once, in the pilot, doesn't mean he's always going to win. And especially in some of these early episodes, there are he comes up against some challenges. Some of them are because he gets his ass kicked. Some of them are emotional. Some of them are psychological. Some of them are his own morality and how it's changing. So a lot of it is suddenly like be careful what you wish for, because we always say Barry had the heart of a hero, but now he has the legs of a hero too, and but that comes with its own challenges. So it's much more of a superhero coming of age story, in the beginning.
I hear that the TV Guide special involved the Rainbow Raider. Are we going to be seeing any obscure rogues in The Flash?
Wait, the what?
Was it the Rainbow Raider? Is that what somebody tweeted at me? No? Never mind.
I don't know.
The comic in the TV Guide.
Oh, it's in the comic and the TV Guide. It's Mr. Bliss.
Mr. Bliss. Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Flash has the world's. I mean, aside from like Batman and Spider-Man, Flash has hands down the best villains, and especially with all the work that so many talented comic book writers have done, especially Jeff. He's really the villains are in some ways just as interesting as the hero, and not just because they're flamboyant, but because they have their own lives, and getting to dip into them. It's no secret Green Arrow doesn't have the world's greatest villains. After Merlin and Vertigo, you're scraping the bottom of the barrel. But there's sort of this endless supply of villains that we're going to get to use, and one of the fun things about this show is because sometimes they have not the greatest names, like Rainbow Raider, like you mentioned, or or even Captain Cold. They're not exactly Cisco, Carlos Valdez. Because he's sort of a fanboy on the show. He's constantly coming up with the names for people. So even as he's doing, he'll pitch a name, and they'll be like, "That's really lame," But it's a way to sort of name check some of these villains that I think the fans will find fun.
Can you talk about Wentworth Miller being on the show and any other guest stars that we can look forward to?
We're so excited about Wentworth. Captain Cold is, he is he's the Joker. He's Lex Luthor, for the Flash, and to get somebody like Wentworth, it was sort of like we seem to always be the beneficiaries of like great timing, and Wentworth has since he finished Prison Break, he's been screenwriting, and he wrote Stoker, and he was just now wanting to sort of dip his toe back into acting, and it was sort of like perfect timing, and Greg met with him, and he really liked the character, and I think he liked being the bad guy, and we're super excited to have him. And I'm trying to think of any other big guest stars. I don't know, we sort of, Bill Sadler is playing Simon Stagg from the comic books in episode 2, and we have Emily Beth Rickards, Felicity, who's coming over in the same Captain Cold episode, and that's as much as I can say right now. But
can you talk at all about the Felicity crossover, like why she comes to town, or what she'll be doing?
Yeah, I mean, she's going to end up helping them out on a case. When Barry, even if the Flash hadn't gone, I mean, Grant and Barry made such a huge impact on the show, and it wasn't something that like we dropped. I mean, if you kept watching the show, there was constant mentions of Barry and him being in a coma, and then when Caitlin and Cisco came over. So, forgetting the Flash, there's unfinished business with Barry and Felicity, and I think it would have been a disservice to all the people who, were supporting Veracity. And as much as it clearly had meant to Felicity over the back half of the season to not address that, and in some ways it was more important to have Felicity and Barry sort of crossover than it was, to sort of do bigger crossovers with like the Arrow and Flash, because I feel like that's stuff that like the fans are going to want to like find out what happened there and what does that mean and what does it mean moving forward. But what's really great about her coming over is, in addition to the fun of it, part of the emotional structure of that episode is it's the first time Barry and his team are having conflicts about how to go about what they're doing, and Felicity is able to both help Barry and Caitlin, Cisco, and Wells, because she knows what it's like to work on a team and not always have a team that works functionally, and how important it is to be there for each other. So it's sort of, it's great in sort of every way, because you get the Barry and Felicity of it, but she's also, it's not just a gimmick, she's really there to help the Team Flash take their next step.